is Elisa Everts. Her speech title is One Wild and Precious Life. One Wild and Precious Life by Elisa Everts.
My little brother was 6'2", 280 pounds, and covered in tattoos. Once an old Sunday school teacher of ours ran into him at the gas station and almost got right back in her car. And then she realized it was Eric, sweet little Eric. In many ways, we were opposites. He was a proud, self-proclaimed redneck who lived in a trailer with 2 pit bulls, a rat terrier, and a girlfriend who was nearly as bedecked in tattoos as himself. He loved guns, Trump, and the Confederate flag. He had a sign in the window with a picture of a gun that said, "We don't call 911. He drove a rickety old brown Jeep that looked like it was held together with duct tape, mostly for sentimental reasons, because it used to be our dad's, but also because he was a masterful mechanic, and it was proof that he could keep anything with an engine alive. But he should have had a bumper sticker that said, "My other car is a Harley," because he had a magnificent custom-built Harley-Davidson motorcycle that was so monstrous, all his biker buddies called it the Beast. This gangster-looking master of the Beast used to be the baby we called Doodlebug. Later, Doodle, and eventually just Dude. He was a wonderful kid brother. We had such adventures, hunting crawdads, crawling through drainage tunnels and manholes, climbing buildings and trees, and rescuing stray kittens. He once claimed that I used to beat him up. I don't remember that. I remember that we would wrestle and I would win. Anyway, I told him, "You should thank me, dude, because I made you the badass that you are." But that was a lie. He did that all by himself. Evel Knievel was his idol back then, so he was always doing death-defying stunts on his bike. He broke his arm when he was 8, riding down a hill, full speed ahead, on a bike that had no brakes. It was never clear to me whether he knew about the brakes at the beginning of his descent, but he came tearing down that hill straight for a big square iron pole. And as he raised his arm, he broke it on either side in 2 places, never did anything halfway. And no, he did not grow out of that. About 10 years ago, he was racing a buddy on a 4-wheeler through the woods in downstate Virginia when he plowed down a tree. He was airlifted unconscious from the scene, having broken his femur in that one, but 2 places, never did anything halfway. But he had a real good time until he ran over that tree. He was also surprisingly protective. Once at Pizza Hut, I mentioned something someone had done to me years before that I thought was old news. Eric didn't say a word, but after a moment, he went out to smoke a cigarette. And he didn't come back. And all of a sudden, my sister and I both realized, oh my God, he has gone to get his gun. So we jumped in the car and raced across town, trying to stop the boy from landing himself in prison. Got there just in time, had a bit of a verbal shootout, but nobody died that night. And nobody ended up in jail. He loved his sisters. When our grandma died back in '97, it almost killed us all. And Eric may have been an ominous hulk of a man, but he said when he got that call, he sat down in the middle of the factory and he cried like a child. Mr. Scary and Surprisingly Sensitive was also the funniest man I knew. Back in 2000, I said something snarky to my mom, and my sister said, "Elisa, you're writing yourself right on out of the will." My mom laughed and said, "What will?" To which my brother replied in his most eloquent hillbilly imitation, "You know that Tupperware set you had your eye on? Well, forget it." He loved to make people laugh. The poet Mary Oliver asked, "What will you do with your one wild and precious life?" Eric died on September 17th, 2017. In his sleep at the age of 47. His life was shorter than we wanted it to be, but he filled it to the brim with the people and pursuits that were his passion. His bike, the Beast, was put on display so his friends could pay their respect. And you have never seen so many tough-looking grown men cry. His funeral procession was mostly a cavalcade of motorcycles, revving their engines at full throttle to honor him on his final ride. My mother likes to think of him up in heaven, riding his Harley alongside Jesus as his biker buddy, doing stunts in the sky. Eric lived hard. He worked hard, he played hard, and he loved hard. What will you do with your one wild and precious life?